We would like to discuss the hatred, the vitriol, the political opportunism that has brought us here today. The hatred that the House managers and others on the left have for President Trump has driven them to skip the basic elements of due process and fairness and to rush an impeachment through the House claiming, quote, urgency, close quotes.
Mr. Schoen on the floor of the United States Senate last week, successfully defending the President of the United States during this phony impeachment. Mr. Schoen, excellent job. Congratulations. It's a pleasure to have you on. How do you feel?
I feel certainly this was the right result, but we never should have had to have been there in the first place. I feel it was a process that continues to tear apart the American people. That's the opposite of healing, the opposite of unity, the opposite of so-called accountability. We want accountability. Look to the criminals who committed the riot, not the president who had nothing to do with it.
Of course. Hey, by the way, when we were watching on TV hours and hours, we could only see, for the most part, the lectern and the marble behind it, as we just saw. What was the atmosphere in the room? I'm curious, were people, were they mesmerized? Were they get over it? Just what was the reaction like in the room? Anything we couldn't pick up?
That's a great question. I'd never been in the Senate before. It was a brand new experience for me. I found that part of it sort of awe-inspiring. But the room was dead quiet, and every senator just about, certainly on the Republican side, was watching me, when I was speaking and listening to every word. And some came up afterwards. They were so gracious, the Republican senators, afterwards, and especially after the second time I spoke. I think the feeling was, they'd been slapped around with evidence, that so-called evidence, a story that simply wasn't true. It wasn't evidence either. And they finally felt like I think someone had stood up for them and, hit back a little bit.
Well, that's how I felt watching on TV. And really, I was so impressed and grateful that you were there and the others as well. I'd like to go through some of the evidence, and I'm making the fake quotation marks, because we now know they manipulated evidence rather overtly, blatantly. They changed dates. They changed the status of some of these Twitter followers. What we're looking at right here, these look like they might be kind of fiery tweets, potentially talking about January 6th, but they actually changed the year. Flat out, these are from 2020. I don't know why they were necessarily talking about January 6th in 2020, but here are the originals.
I'll tell you what it was. I'll tell you the 2020 thing is, first of all, we don't really know whether the president ever really retweeted the tweet or not. What we do know is this woman wrote a tweet on January 3rd, 2021. What we learned, though, was just by zooming in on a picture in the New York Times that this Raskin had, Raskin got the Times, I guess, to watch him working. So they came and took a picture of him looking at his screen with these tweets. What he did was he didn't use real tweets that were put together. He manufactured a graphic. And so the way he was caught was he apparently wrote in January 3rd, 2020, just got the date wrong. That's apparently the manufacturer of the graphic did that wrong. So that's how we knew it wasn't a real tweet side by side that appeared as a retweet. And he just forgot to change it. By the time they presented it to the Senate, he changed the date and corrected it. It's just unbelievable. It's not only that, they submitted things here that would never be even close to evidence in any kind of proceeding where someone's life or liberty is issue. They went further than that and had to manipulate even the non-evidence. And as we said, during the course of the proceeding, their sources were things like reportedly and the media says. And at one point, as you know, Senator Mike Lee, who turned out to be a fantastic guy, full of integrity, stood up and he just had enough. And he said, they just quoted me as part of their case without ever consulting me, and they got it wrong. I never said what they attributed to me.
I remember that moment, and Raskin, the House manager, backed down pretty quick. And I think,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, by the way, I want to look at the House managers. I mean, some of these folks went to prestigious law schools, but, lawyer to lawyer, you guys, I'm wondering if you have a little code, a little language all your own when you're in the courtroom or if you're in the Senate, because some of what they were saying was totally outlandish and I don't think could pass a straight face test. Did you ever have a
I think they all wanted their moment in the camera, it seemed to me. Some of them, they say, have higher aspirations. I don't know. But, listen, I have my own thoughts. I'll leave those alone.
Well, let me fill in the blank. Not for you, but I made this observation earlier. A lot of folks, You know, Donald Trump made his fame, made his fortune, made his name outside of Washington, D.C. A lot of folks go to Washington, D.C. to make their name, make their fortune. We'll leave it at that for now. So after an experience like this, what's next for you?
Good question. I don't know. You know, I've actually been a civil rights lawyer for about 36 years and a criminal defense lawyer 36 years. So I don't know about politics. I love elections. I love to see as many people get engaged in elections as possible. And that's part of what drew me to this case. The real agenda here by these House managers and the House Democrats was to bar Donald Trump from ever running for political office again and to disenfranchise at least 74 million voters who cast their vote for him, to never permit them to vote for Donald Trump again. That, to me, is an outrageous scenario in the American electoral scene that I've ever seen, and I didn't want to be a part of putting up with that.
You actually called a very effective witness, a Democrat, in a way, Democrat Jerry Nadler, talking about impeachment some 20 years ago when it was about Bill Clinton, and you presented it perfectly, and then you wrapped it up in the classiest way. Here's that moment.
I leave you with the wise words of Congressman Jerry Nadler.
The effect of impeachment is to overturn the popular will of the voters. We must not overturn an election and remove a president from office, except to defend our system of government or our constitutional liberties against a dire threat. You may have the votes, you may have the muscle, but you do not have the legitimacy of a national consensus or of a constitutional imperative. This partisan coup d'etat will go down in infamy in the history of this nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time.
Perfect, sir. Absolutely perfect. Congratulations, and we're very, very grateful.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thank you, sir. David Schoen, everybody.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see on Newsmax TV. You can watch for free right here on our YouTube live stream and be the first one here each time our experts break down real news. Just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell icon, and stay with us on America's fastest growing cable news channel, Newsmax TV.